this meeting to order. If you would please stand. This time we would ask Councilman Dorman to please say the Pledge of Allegiance followed by prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, please watch after us, use us, guide us, and help us to make safe decisions for our city.
Roll call.
Dorman. Here. Stock.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Meadows.
Here.
Beach. Hurt.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Venable.
Hearing of citizens' comments, this is the time. If we have anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment. Don't believe we do, but okay, we'll move along to approval of the minutes of the November 16th or 6th, 2017 council meeting. We've had those over the weekend to look at. Are there any additions or corrections or questions? Hearing none, they will stand as presented. Consent items, we have two. A pay request number 7 from Cody Martin in the amount of $60,310.04 for soccer field grading. And a change order number 4 from Cody Martin Excavating in the amount of $28,212.81 credit for soccer field grading and retaining improvements. Do I hear a motion to?
Mayor, make a motion to be approved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Questions? Roll call.
Dorman.
Yes.
Stock.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Presentation of accounts and claims. Teresa, when you're ready.
Ordinance appropriating money. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Boonville as follows. Section 1, for the purpose of paying salaries and various accounts against the City of Boonville, which have been allowed by the Council at the regular meeting thereof on November 20th, 2017, the sum of $517,796.89. General Fund, $297,574.42. Sanitation, $22,067.64. CIP tax, $16,062.80. Waterworks, $40,441.63. Capital projects, $27 even. Wastewater, $61,896.94. Tourism, $5,430.31. Gaming, $12,146.48. Parks and Water, $62,149.67. Section 2. The accountant is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on the respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $517,796.89, being the total amount of money above appropriated. Section 3. This ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage. First reading on November 20th, 2017. Read for the second time this 20th day of November 2017, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Mayor, make a motion this be approved.
Thank you, Morris. Do I hear a second? I second it. Thank you, Susan. Questions? Roll call.
Dorman.
Yes.
Stock.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Unfinished business. Item A, second reading of bill number 2017-033.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, extending a new agreement for professional engineering services to Nico Engineering Incorporated.
Morris?
Make a motion this be approved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Susan? Questions or comments? We've worked with them for a long time, so. Roll call.
Dorman.
Yes.
Stock.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Item B, second reading of bill number 2017-035.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, authorizing execution of an STP Urban Program Agreement by and between the City of Boonville, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, providing an effective date therefore, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Make a
Morris.
motion to be approved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Mike? Okay. Questions?
And this is for the airport, right?
No, Morris, it's not for the airport. This is, the same program that we did up there on Locust Street in front of the school,
Yes.
except we're probably going to do, Main Street again. We did that once, 7, 8
Yeah,
years ago.
okay.
So,
Any other questions? Roll call.
Dorman,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Moving on to new business. First reading of bill number 2017-036.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, approving the application for rezoning of 104 West Spring Street from R3 to C1.
Okay. Consider purchase of material and labor for water tank mixing equipment.
I want to start with bringing you up to date on the disinfection byproducts condition. Currently, our numbers are 65 parts per billion for our locational running annual average. The limit is 80 parts per billion. Mark Wild and his troops spend a lot of time constantly watching these numbers. Sometimes they can make adjustments to the treatment process. Sometimes there's water conditions aligned that there's not much we can do. So they spend a lot of time watching this. We've made some significant improvements over the last year since we had a run of violations for the disinfection byproducts, a locational running annual average above the 80 parts per billion. Most significantly, we added mixers and power vents in 2 tanks that were identified in a combination of us, Alliance Water Resources, and Utility Service. Those tanks were the first 2 we did last year. We felt they were the, as we called them, hot spots, the most likely concentration that disinfection byproducts could form or reform in our system. This year we're going to do another tank, and that is the 300,000 gallon water tower elevated tank at the water treatment plant. It's the same process, same PAX mixer and power vent system that we have in the Crone Street 500,000 gallon tank and in the 1 million gallon tank at the water treatment plant. What this thing does is it's a small mixer that stirs the water or keeps it moving so we don't have temperature layers within the water, which is a condition that is conducive to the formation of disinfection byproducts or the reformation of disinfection byproducts. So it'll stir that water, keep that water turned over, and then in the process of doing that, the TTHMs or total trihalomethanes will volatilize or be released into the airspace between the surface of the water and the top of the tank, and those are vented out of the tank to the atmosphere. We're going to add one at the water treatment plant tank for our utility service for a total of $41,790 this year.
Any questions for Ramel? Yeah, I'm looking for a motion to accept that.
Make a
Morris?
motion, we accept it.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I second.
Susan? Any further questions or comments? Roll call.
Dorman,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Reports of standing committees. Housing Authority, Morris?
And we have normal meeting, everything's going good over there, and they're in full control.
Okay. Parks and Recs, Vanessa?
Their meeting was canceled, I believe.
Okay. Reports of city officials, city administrator,
nothing this evening.
mayor, I have nothing. City councilor,
I have nothing.
economic developer, Dr. Jim Gann.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My report's on page 21 of your packet. One item that several of you attended is the Housing Summit, which we had a couple weeks ago. The Municipal Facilities Authority has created a report of that event to be forwarded to you. Since our meeting was last Thursday, we could not have it done fast enough to get it on the agenda for tonight. So Kenny Herlinger, president of the MFA, will be attending the next council meeting on, what is it, the 4th, I believe, to present that report to you. It was a well-attended event for those of you that weren't there, more than 50 folks. So I think it will start a public discussion, which was the MFA's intent. Also, tomorrow will be an announcement of a pretty significant economic development project that's going to be located in Sedalia. So this will be the 4th large project that's been announced around us, 2 in Columbia, 1 in Warrensburg, 1 in Sedalia. What I want you to know is if you're asked by a constituent why we didn't get any of those, which is a legitimate question, the smallest project on the 4 that have been announced recently was a minimum of 150 acres of developable land with all the utilities in place. So we simply don't have a site that would support that. So we were aware of these as they came along, but we did not have a candidate site. So anyway, just a heads up for you in case someone asks, is that this project in Sedalia, when the search went out, was for 250 acres, and it had to be along a rail line. Other than that, it's been a fairly busy month with a variety of things, but I'll be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Any questions from council?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. City Clerk?
I've got nothing this evening.
Couple of things before we go to miscellaneous. I want to draw your attention to a couple of things under Alliance report. And one is under their administrative listings. Jim Yonke has retired, and I ran into him downtown. He was having breakfast, and I think you'll all remember him. He has come to many, many of our meetings, and just a super nice guy, and I told him that we'd miss him. So anyway, but you guys are doing a great job, and we appreciate it. And I noticed that Mark Wild participated in the Missouri River cleanup activity. So did you find the tow truck that was in the river?
No, I stayed on land.
Oh, you stayed on the lake. Well, if you haven't, be sure and read the list of what they found in the river, because it's pretty interesting. So,
Good group of people down there.
yeah,
Very nice.
yeah. So they found, what, a half ton of metal that they got out, and then just all this other stuff. So, it's pretty interesting reading. Miscellaneous.
Yes.
Steve? Oh. Go ahead.
I wanted to go over a little bit more, since the mayor and Mark had mentioned the Missouri River cleanup on October 21st. And I'll start right off with calling to note some of our partners that participated in it. The Mid-Missouri Solid Waste Management District, of course, were a member of that. They funded part of that cleanup and had volunteers there. Alliance Water Resources provides a financial contribution and, as you heard Mark say, manpower. Advanced Disposal provided dumpsters and hauling services, and we provided a backhoe and an employee to unload and load and move debris around. 257 volunteers with a total tonnage of 2.4 tons. And I might point out that's 2.4 tons of trash that were gouged out of the mud. That's not picking up a piece of litter walking down the sidewalk. So there's hard work, a lot of sweat equity in that 2.4 tons. I want to note, as much as it maybe bothers me a little bit, The other agencies, the Department of Conservation, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and U.S. Department of Natural Resources, and the University of Missouri participated in the cleanup. I think it's unprecedented for those state and federal agencies to participate in local events like that. They just simply don't do it. It's not on their radar, whereas it is on ours. We live and breathe this stuff. So I think it's unusual. These other agencies actually had boats and employees and machinery out there for this event. And I might mention that the event coordinator was Jennifer Davis, our own Boonville native. She's a big wheel, as I like to say it, in the Missouri River Relief Organization.
Thank you, Emil. Okay, Steve, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to start a discussion on the compensation for the city council and mayor. From the information I received, these numbers, compensation for the council and the mayor, they were last set in 2005, and they have not changed since. There's no cost of living at all. Correct me if I'm wrong, but no cost of living. So the numbers remain the same since 2005. Right now, I don't see anybody knocking doors down to get these seats. Most races are uncontested. A lot of this seems like we're appointed more than we win an election and win a seat, which can be good or bad. It seems like if a mayor got in here with an agenda, they could make appointments and kind of sway things going down in the future. We have a good, diversified council now, and you've done a good job with that, Julie. But I think the compensation needs to be almost doubled. We're looking at 12 years. I know back in the 80s and 90s, every 8 years things would seem to double. But since we had a recession and stuff in those 12 years, something needs to be done. I would suggest that if we could have staff look at other towns our size and just compare if Dublin stuff is out of reason. And I think also after we adjust numbers, if we do adjust numbers, there should be some kind of cost of living that kind of goes along with the cost of living raises that the staff gets. I think this would help bring back elections and an elected council. And I think this is my understanding is this is the responsibility of the council to change that.
Okay.
So if, Mayor, I can open it up for discussion if anybody has any ideas.
Anyone want to make a comment? Vanessa, is your hand going up or you?
I didn't even consider the money when I was running, but because it's not
didn't.
even worth considering.
Well, it's lunch money, sure.
Yeah.
But you could buy a lot more lunch back in 2005 with this money than you could now. So, or it could be 2 dates a month, where back in 05 it would probably be 4. So,
Anyone feel strongly about it, or you want staff to look into it and get some numbers, or Earl, how do we give ourselves raises?
well,
No.
Traditionally, the elected officials don't get a raise, and I think there's some restrictions on when you can do it, too, based on terms or something,
okay. But 12
but
years.
it's not something you can't overcome, but.
I mean, if you double things, you're looking at $12,000 if I'm thinking right.
I think that's close, yeah. Seems to me there's a 14,000 number in there somewhere.
Okay. So, whose responsibility would that be if things were to change?
Well, I'm not gonna set you guys' salaries, so,
Okay.
you're gonna have to
Yeah.
do it yourself.
We trust you, Earl.
It's the council, yeah.
So, we could do a little survey and see what it is. Municipal League may have some data already collected, I'm not sure, but,
Yeah, why don't we do a little research?
That's,
and-
Do some,
We're coming into the budget season. I know
Yeah.
Earl's kind of
Yeah,
starting
that's
to
good.
look at the budget, and I think maybe it's not gonna look so good again this year, so might want to keep that in mind also. So, anyway, it's something that's good to look at, Steve, so
okay, thank you.
thank you for bringing that up. I also wanted, anything else?
I'm done.
Okay. I also want to thank the American Legion. I know, Morris, you work with them on getting the flags up on Veterans Day, and I know that does take some time and effort to get those up and down, and so they continue to do a good job of that. So please pass that along to them. Any other miscellaneous?
I just have a question about all of these nuisance properties that I got. I don't know, when are things gonna?
Copies of the letters.
I think those are just copies of the nuisance letters on the property, so we're in your ward, obviously,
Right.
that's why everyone else is like, I didn't get those letters.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
were they all only in my ward?
Yep, we're only in Ward 2, we just go ward by ward. You guys mainly get them as a courtesy copy in case someone should reach out to you, then you should know. If you read the letter, or the typical process that we follow is they have 30 days to call Steve and set up a work plan and or remedy the issue, whichever it is. And so internally, Paula and Steve are tracking those issues, and we're always very flexible on our work plan. So we have some people from Ward 1 that are on a work plan for like the next 6 years. And as long as they just keep plugging away, we leave them alone. If they don't reply at all, so if we hear nothing from them, or if they present a work plan but then they never actually do anything that they say they're going to do, then it goes to Carissa at that point in time. And we get pretty good compliance really of that list. You know, maybe hopefully 3 or 4 will go, but Ward 3 is actually, neither of them are here, but we'll do that in the new year. So
Can you tell us if you've heard from?
I can't tell you offhand, but I can tell you at the next, or I can send you an update with where we are with them, or I can provide it to the whole council if they want.
Okay,
Just as a, go ahead.
no, I just was wondering.
Okay, just as a reminder to people back home, if you're wondering, what's happening in Ward 2? Why is it, all of a sudden? So we started this several years ago. We started with Ward 1. So Ward 1 was getting all these a couple of years ago, and we finally got done with Ward 1, so now we've moved to Ward 2. So that's why you're receiving all these all of a sudden, and then Kate just said Ward 3 will get started probably the first of the year. So that's the plan that we came up with, so.
I think it's great. I think it needs to be done. I think it's what we need to have going on to, to have the corridor that we're having and, get people to recognize our town. And I also think it could be part of the solution to the housing problem, because a lot of these houses could be lived in. They're just derelict. And if they were forced to do something about them, then we might not.
I know I've received a lot of compliments from people. They've noticed a difference. A lot of times you do something and people really, the public does not notice a difference. But I have heard from the public a lot of compliments, and I think they like what we're doing. I haven't heard any complaints, I don't think. I shouldn't say that. But anyway, a lot of good thoughts about what we're doing to clean up the town. So, and it's certainly not easy. So,
No, that's hard work.
yeah, and you can tell from that stack of papers how many houses there are to deal with. Any other miscellaneous? Mike?
Actually had somebody call me in my ward and was asking about Toastmaster, just out here on Morgan. If there's any end to that, where it's either coming down, they're gonna do something with it. If I don't know, I don't think we own it, I'm assuming we don't.
The Toastmaster facility on Morgan Street up by the prison is privately held. We've actually had a couple inquiries from economic developer interests before Jim was here, and since then, Jim and I both have gone deep into the parent owners, and we are yet to find a live body really to actually talk to. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't want to speak for Steve entirely, but I think the sentiment would be that frankly from our standpoint, there's nothing derelict that meets our definition of that property. Without going inside, I don't know what's there. I don't know what sort of contamination is there, if there's anything, if there's nothing. But since we're limited to inspections on the outside, they mow their grass,
Yeah.
the roof isn't collapsing, you know, the walls aren't tilting or listing. So those things that Steve typically looks for to determine a building dangerous, they're really not there. They don't even have broken windows. So, I mean, for the most part, or they board them up. So we're sort of stymied.
Hopefully there's no nickel left in there.
I think
you know there
there's
is in the plating
I think
room.
there's stuff in there. I can't remember who I talked to, but there's some hazards and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, somebody asked about that one, and they asked about Second Street too, so
Yep.
I don't know if that's a,
Did somebody buy one of those? On Second Street?
Second Street's gone.
Is that a yes?
Do they own, somebody owns it?
I believe there
That was
was,
a rumor, yeah.
mm-hmm,
I don't think it's closed yet.
yeah, it has not closed, but I believe there is someone who is wanting to buy the Toastmaster building on Second Street.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Okay, well, so that's an answer that I can,
Make.
Okay, any other questions? That's a good question, Mike. Thank you. Okay, call for adjournment,
So move.
second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
All righty.